Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
May God bless you, and may God continue to bless these United States of America.
I'm sure she's
I'm a fan of her.
I'm sure she's very nice.
She embarrassed herself. She embarrassed the Republicans, and she embarrassed women. It was a disgrace. I was horrified by her performance, and I really think that it's going to take her years to rebound.
So that was obviously super weird for a range of reasons, a little alarming at times, but it was also incredibly misleading. I mean, during that speech, Britt shared a graphic story about a woman who had told her about being sexually abused over and over by members of Mexican drug cartels. She implied it happened in the United States, and she told that story in an effort purposefully to criticize the Biden administration's border policy. But an independent reporter named Jonathan Katz did a little digging, and what he discovered has gone viral on TikTok for good reason. For one, he found that the victim had shared her story many times, not just to Katie Britt privately, including to Congress back in 2015. And the horrific ads she talks about actually took place in Mexico. And they happened when George W. Bush was president. So all in all, a super weird speech with at least one very misleading part about immigration. Sound familiar? It should, because it's a page out of Trump's playbook. Look, some Republican members of Congress basically entered the political world looking and acting like this. They ran as full-throated MAGA fanatics without even the pretense of waiting to govern. They didn't evolve. For others, like Troy Nehls and Katie Britt, there's been a bit of an evolution. And that tells us something important. Because even when you're elected as more of a mainstream conservative, like Troy Nehls and Katie Britt, and there are many others, there is no incentive to stay that way because the MAGA movement is no longer the fringe. It is the Republican Party. And in order to stay in office and rise through the ranks, you have no choice but to go full MAGA.
Welcome back to Ordinary Talk. Hope everybody's doing okay. Heck of a day today. It's raining here and everything. I hope it's okay where you are. But well, I'll tell you though, this week, the whole week, boy, just one thing after another. People are coming out in droves here to attack Katie Britt. I mean, I'm sure you must have seen at least one or two incidents where people are criticizing her for what her rebuttal speech looked like for people at home who watched it. And for them, But it really was a bizarre performance, almost like it was made in Hollywood for a movie or something like that, And the fact that she had put so much drama in it only amplifies how much of a performance it was, how phony it was, how she was trying to tailor her rebuttal in some way to attack Biden, which is why she dug up that story that probably didn't actually happen to her, but just happened to be a story that's somebody kind of remembered from years past. And she probably read about it and decided, I'll use this. And it was such an obvious lie, because it took about somebody like 10 minutes to find the story online. And they found out it went all the way back to the George W. Bush era when he was president. And so once that was found, I mean, her gig was up. I mean, right then they found out, okay, so you said this at this time to make it seem like this was very recent. And this had something to do with the way Biden is dealing with the border now. Okay, you wouldn't say it that way, but you were implying that he had something in some way to do with that. okay, when this story was really not anywhere in the same time period that you're trying to allude to or anything. This was just something that, you could verify it's out there, that it's true from the woman that was interviewed and questioned about it, but you're not actually using it in a truthful manner, okay? It's not an example that was appropriate for what you were trying to do. And she defended it as best she could, and obviously, it failed. I mean, she just come off looking more ridiculous than even before, and it really annoyed a lot of the Republicans who, they like to see a Republican defend a lie to their dying breath, okay? But she couldn't really defend it because they were right. I mean, it's something that had anything to do with Biden, okay? And the fact is that, that under Obama, these border crossings were down, and when Trump got in there, I mean, he just basically, made it worse with how things were going on. And I feel like there was a lot that, if you understood what was happening at the time, or when you understand what's going on right now at the time, you would see why she was up there saying these things on the camera the way she was, trying to sound so sincere and so concerned American, like, that this is all our problems and stuff, and trying to, in a bizarre way, trying to own Biden over this. Okay, but she failed at it, okay, miserably, and rightly so, because when you come at the point of dishonesty to try and tarnish somebody, you can't do it without tarnishing yourself first, and that's what she did. And the rest of the things that she said in her rebuttal simply were just, untrue, when you consider all the accomplishments that Biden's made over the last 4 years already, okay? Everything that Trump promised he was going to do, as far as the border issue and stuff like that, Biden got closer to doing anything about that than he ever did. The only reason why he couldn't accomplish it is because the right wing didn't want him to have any accomplishment in that area, so they stopped him dead in his tracks. They wouldn't vote for it, and people largely say it's because Trump told them not to support it. He wanted that issue for himself to campaign on, because hell, he ain't got nothing to campaign on. What the hell did he ever accomplish? Okay, he's a 4-time loser, or he's going to be this November. I still say he's not going to win. Okay, how could he? I mean, you could see in his own party the ambition there to see him return as president is not there. It just isn't there. The rallies he's going to don't have the attendance records that he was making before. More people understand what he is now. They really do. And, they don't want to see a repeat of those 4 years. He had one crisis under his administration, and he bungled it beyond belief. Okay, that was the pandemic. Okay, this one thing that he could have finished or dealt with easy if he'd have just believed in his government to do the right thing. Okay, but no. He couldn't have anything like that happen under his administration, so it had to be a hoax. He had to play it off as something that the Democrats are trying to set me up. This pandemic isn't real, And then he tells people, oh, well, you should drink bleach or something like that, to clean out the blood or some damn thing, I mean, he was giving people all this bizarre crap. I mean, you look it up online, Christ, you got him being recorded in interviews, press interviews of him saying some stupid shit during the pandemic, and then telling people not to wear masks. Christ, you had people wiping their asses with coffee filters all over the country, for Christ's sake, because the damn you couldn't get the shipping supply issue in this country settled down. So that way the stores would have enough material for people to buy. And I just, that was like the most fundamental thing that he could have dealt with, because we had systems in place for just that sort of thing, and he screwed it up. He fucking screwed it up. I mean, how else can you say it? That's really what he did. And if it hadn't have been for that, I don't think he would have lost. I don't think he would have lost his second term. But because he ran this country through the ringer so bad during the outbreak, that people on both sides of the aisle didn't want to keep going down this road. They needed some new answers. Trump wasn't providing them. He was attacking the other side on the same old crap that he was attacking them before. He just didn't come off as something original, or something that, oh, this is thinking outside the box. He proved he's part of the fucking problem too. So now, after four years, I guess 6 years of constant court dates, and seeing him on TV defending the shit that he did, being convicted of rape, all this stuff. I mean, his image is more tarnished now than ever. So if he lost the last time because people had lost their faith in him, what do you think now? The only people left are those really hardcore Trump supporters that are there supporting him. Okay, that's all that's left for him now. So you either love this guy or you hate him. There is no gap now. There's no middle of the ground with Trump anymore. You either love the guy or you hate him. That's what he's got. A divided base, basically. So he doesn't even have the majority, really, of the voter base of the Republican Party. A lot of them, I suspect, are really not interested in voting. And if they do vote, it's probably will be Biden. They probably won't even vote for Trump. Some of them won't even go there. Or they'll just stay home, which should be just fine with me, because the fewer votes, the better. Either way you look at it, Trump's not going to win. Despite what the polls say. The media wants this to look like a horse race. Okay? They want it that way because it draws, gets advertising dollars. It makes them money. So if they try to coax the numbers down so that way they're more even than one way up and over the other, okay, then hey, there's always the possibility that they leave out there that, oh, Trump could win, But if it's a certainty that Trump won't win, well, then people are just not going to bother watching the debates. They're not going to watch anything he's got to say in his little town hall things or whatever. Nobody's going to care about what even Biden will say. But they got to keep those numbers neck and neck all the way to the end. And when at the end, they're going to say, geez, how could the numbers have been so off? Well, do you know why they were so off? Because you tailored them that way. That's why you guys do this shit every fucking election cycle. Okay? So don't go by the fucking polling numbers. I don't give a shit what outfit or what university or college or whoever puts those numbers out. They all take money, okay, to do these studies. You think they just do this on their own? No, they're asked to do these things. And how do they do the polls, by the way? Have you got any calls from anybody ever asking you about where do you think you should vote? I haven't. I'm 53 years old. I have never got one fucking phone call from anybody asking me where I intend to vote or who I'm going to vote for in any election, is even on the state level. I've never been given. So who are they calling? Who are they asking? Okay? Who the fuck are these people asking when they call this out of 1,000, somebody, who are the people who get these? I want to know. I want to fucking know. I want a goddamn name associated with every fucking person that they say they've called. I want to see the names of these fucking people. I want to call myself, ask them, did you get a call? Okay? Because, hey, I can pretend to be some kind of a polling company, and I could say, hey, I called 10,000 people, and out of 10,000... but if nobody's going to ask me, well, let's see the phone calls. Let's see if you really did. If nobody's going to ask me that, then why would I say that my polling data is any better than yours? Okay? Why should we trust that these people actually made these calls when nobody holds them accountable? to prove that they did it. Because nobody ever asks these people. You ever notice that? Nobody will ever go to these people and ask them, what area did you call or what? They don't. They're very vague about what they report, but they never get specific. They could choose any area of the country to call, whether it's a red dominated area or a blue dominated area, and get these polling numbers, right? Okay. Are they randomly? I mean, are they just opening a phone book and flipping through pages and just drop their finger? No, they don't do that. They've already got areas selected that they called, and they know these areas are going to be predominantly right or predominantly left. Okay? They know this. They've been around too fucking long not to be able to know this. Okay? They fucking know. Those polling things are just as political as everything else in this game. And that's why I ignore the polling numbers, okay? The only numbers I want to see are the exit numbers, the exit polling numbers of people who have voted and walked out and then told somebody who they voted for. Those are the only fucking numbers I want to see, okay? Anything before that is just horse race bullshit, okay? It's like looking in a fucking book there to, to hedge your bets on something. Doesn't mean a goddamn thing. Okay, so like I said, this is really ridiculous. And like I said before, the closer we get to November, the more ridiculous shit's going to happen. Okay, this Katie Britt thing, yeah, that's going to be one thing. This whole year is going to have footnotes of different things that's going to happen all the way up to November. This Miss Britt here is going to be one of those footnotes here, one of them. Whatever you want to call it, markers here in this election year. But make no mistake, this election is really not so much about Trump versus Biden. This is really about the turning point to the country, because I think I'm not the only one who sees this specter, if you want to call it, out there just waiting, biding its time to basically upend what we have as a democracy in America. Okay, I really think that's what's going on here. You're seeing this around the world now. You got Netanyahu, who's really a right-wing nut for the country of Israel. Okay, getting his way, and the people there hating him, protesting against him, trying to beg him to stop this fucking war, and he's not doing a goddamn thing about it, only escalating it. Okay, he's pulling a Trump over there too, because they want to try to remove him from office using the courts before that war started over there. And lo and behold, this whole thing unfolds to keep him in power. And he's not going to let that go. Okay? So you got this shit going on over there. Then you got Putin, okay, trying to reel his country and drag the other country, Ukraine, kicking and screaming back into the fold to reform the Soviet Union. Okay? He wants to bring those old days back, the Cold War days back. That's what he's trying to do. So you got this happening against the better wishes of his country, his people in Russia. I mean, they're not 100% behind him, over this. Because a lot of those people in Ukraine are just as much Russian in their eyes as they are. Because some of those people have family members that live in that country, and now they're attacking their own family members. So, this is not something that the people want over there either. And yet you got a conservative or, dictator, whatever you want to call him, over there forcing people to do something against their will. Okay? And, like I said, it's when you see moments in history where you got, this rise of this sort of right-wing extremist ideologies emerging in different parts of the world at the same time, okay? That's a very bad sign. That means things are coming to a head here, okay? I don't know what that could possibly mean for all of us, but it can't be good. And when you have all this stuff, I mean, and I feel like we're closer to an all-out war now than we ever were during the 80s, during the Cold War period. I mean, people were saying they were sweating bullets. Okay, I don't believe that for a second. I think people were on a spending spree back in the 80s. The Cold War was just a thing in the background that didn't seem to really grab people's attention that much, except that, you know, we didn't want to have a president who was willing to push all the buttons. Okay, but I don't think because we couldn't see the threat, you know, because it was a Cold War, we didn't really have to acknowledge that it was there. So people could live their life, you know, shielding themselves from it. But today, it's very hard to hide from it because it's everywhere now. I mean, we got the internet, you got TV, you got the radio, you got, you know, all these sources of media around us reminding us of what's happening around the world. You know, people suffering and dying and wars and, you know, all this shit. So I feel like when you have that kind of exposure to the facts, to the truth that's out there, that ratchets up people's fear level, that ratchets up anxiety level, that makes things more likely to happen and out of knee-jerk reaction, okay? And when that happens, you know, possibilities increase. You know, given enough time, anything's possible. And like right now, it wouldn't take much to spark a major war right now in the Middle East right now. It wouldn't take a whole lot at all. Less than it would have took, say, when I was during the Gulf War. Certainly less than that. Less than that, much less than that. Okay, a bullet landing in the wrong way across, you know, on somebody could start it. You know, it may not go nuclear right off the bat, but the more exchange you got, the more the tempers get involved, and before you know it, the more missiles fly, and bingo, you know. It certainly could happen. And you don't want to have a guy like Donald Trump as president when the shit finally hits the fan. I mean, you think his way of handling that is going to be the right way? Do you think he's going to give 1 second about the possibility that there could be a way to you know, to stop it, you know, before it escalates even further? Do you think he'd give any thought to that? Or because he doesn't seem to care about the country, but do you think he's the kind of guy that would talk about a ceasefire or anything like that? No, he'd go all guns with it. You know, that's the kind of guy he is. So without a deep thinker like that in the White House, who has the weight of responsibility of 350 million Americans on his shoulders, okay, on his, you know, on their shoulders, you got to have somebody that isn't a person that's just willing to sacrifice all our lives just so he can come out the winner, you know, in his mind, okay? Because that's really all it is. I mean, Putin is that kind of guy. He'd sacrifice, you know, that many probably for his own ego. But he'd have to be the one still left alive standing, and he can't guarantee that. You know, that's the problem. He can't guarantee that he'd be still alive after that. Because what good is the victory if you're not around to celebrate it, right? But yeah, so yeah, a lot for people to talk about this week, and certainly Katie Britt brought a lot to the table there that really gives us another window into what's going on inside the right wing, such as it is. And unfortunately, I think, you know, the GOP, as it was once referred to, really is not that anymore. It's MAGA now. It's just MAGA. And that being said, it's a cult. The right wing's a cult now in our country. And since we really only have one political party to vote for now, because the cult is not a political party, it's a cult. They're against this country. So they are the antithesis of American ideology. They're not for us. Okay, they're basically if you vote for them, you're voting against the country. You know, if you vote for Democrats, you're voting with the country because it still stands for the Constitution. The right wing doesn't care about that piece of paper anymore. They don't like it. They don't want it. They don't want to see it. They don't want it. So what they want is their way, or everybody else can go straight to hell. That's what they want. And the guy they're supporting basically says that. He says that to the NATO. You know, if NATO's not going to pay, we're not going to step in and stop Russia from attacking you. We're just going to sit on the sideline and cheer it on. You know, that's what they want. That's the kind of leader they want for this country. And God help us if we gets back in there. I really, I know I say, you know, that he's not gonna make it, but there's always gonna be that little percent of a chance that, you know, people are gonna do the wrong thing, and you can always depend on stupid getting its way on a lot of things. I'm hoping that if stupid does get its way, it's not gonna have enough influence to get its way. You know what I'm saying? If stupid manages to get into their minds, which it will, that at least the numbers will be small enough where the majority will simply overshadow it. That's all we can hope for, really. We can't expect the MAGAs to suddenly have this come to Jesus moment, okay? Because for them, it's come to Trump for them. But come to Jesus, no, Jesus is not. He has left the building as far as they're concerned. It's not even about that anymore. So everybody, please have a good upcoming week. And I will talk to you later, and take care of each other, and take care of yourself, and try to do something good for somebody. You know, it always comes back around in good karma.